So the 20th August Amabishop sounds like it's gonna be quite an interesting subject, but with interesting subjects comes the challenges of those particular subjects, and that's what I thought we could talk about here. It's the Reality Show, daily Christian commentary videos. If it's the first time over here, do be sure to check out my other videos that are down in the pinned comments. We do daily Christian commentary videos. These videos are known as apologetical points for some of the subjects that happen within the Christian church. And on this one, we're talking about this recent coming episode. So what's the subject about? I thought it would be interesting for us to go over there. Other episodes, as I mentioned, down in the pinned comments. And let me bring up this particular clip here. So this is the trailer that came out. And I'm very interested in knowing what exactly the subject is going to be. All right.
In the church.
I was kicked out of church.
Wait.
We are talking about homosexuality in the church.
I was kicked out of church by my pastor.
Homosexuals will not enter the kingdom.
Usomiza ngithi uthi mabe niyasiqosha siqosheni emasontweni enu.
Abatho ba gay people ba tsamaya ba lo iketsetsa le ya bona kereke tsa bona.
Well, it's so funny because bona bo pastor ba buang ka Sodoma le Gomorrah, they are busy inboxing us on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, it's the subject of the flag. All right. So let's tackle one point at a time. Let's tackle one point at a time. So first off, what was
We are
that?
talking about homosexuality in the church.
Now, there's a point to think about when we label a subject like that, right? This particular subject of the flag and church. Can you have that when the Bible doesn't say of it being right? If the Bible labels something to say this is not acceptable in church, like if you want to be like that outside, okay. But if the Bible says this is not acceptable in church, are Christians therefore wrong for saying we don't want that in the church? It kind of introduces this particular point that is brought up here.
I was kicked out of church.
Right?
The church.
I was kicked out of church by my pastor.
Homosexuals.
So they were kicked out. It was kicked out of a church because the pastor didn't see. You see, like, we don't want to confuse the subject matter of what the church has. We want to be accommodating to everybody. We say, yo, come as you are, but we don't stay that way. We don't expect. Yes, expect is the word. We don't expect one to stay that way. Okay? If you want to see what I'm talking about, you read Ephesians chapter number 2. By grace are he saved, that not of yourself, it is the gift of God, that no man should boast. But then what does it say? For we are created in Christ unto good works, which God expects. So there is an expectation. So when a person comes to join our community and they don't think of the expectation, like I've stated before, that the problem with people of the flag is that they want to change the language of the people that they live with on this earth. The goal is to change my view as a Christian to their ideals. I can't do that. My ideals are bound by conscience to what I see in the book. And if the book doesn't say thumbs up, I'm not thumbsing up anything that I don't see in the book. Now somebody says, but yes, what do you think? I think what the book thinks. Don't ask me that. It's a silly question. If you did see what the book says, that's exactly what's in my mind. The idea of trying to change what Christians say about what is clear in the Bible. Now, the question would be, what then do we expect from you know what? I don't have that struggle. I don't have that question. I'm not a pastor. Go ask a pastor. Me as an apologist, I'll just say, tell you what the Bible says. Whatever congregation you go to, you'll have to ask them, how do they deal with the subject? If the pastor says, you know what, my brother, you're not changing, or they expected, you see that verse that I read a little bit earlier on. We are created in Christ Jesus unto good works, which God has before expected. He has set an expectation for everyone. There is an expectation for a thief. There's an expectation for a robber. There's an expectation for a slave queen. There's an expectation for a whore. Everybody got expectations. Why don't you want expectations? That's not my expectation. That's the expectation of God that you're claiming, that you're following. And so when you go to a church and they say, no, brotherhood, we cannot accommodate this. It's because when we read according to expectation of the book, we're putting that up. We're like, hey, my brother, you're not looking like the expectation. Are you going there? But then if you are then insisting to be wearing wigs and all those things, no, there's no progress. You get it? It's like in the simple things. What the question I would ask is, what does that look like for you? What is the expected thing from you? Now, you know the verses. You know the Romans chapter number 1. You know the Leviticus verses. What do you think God expects after you read those verses? That's the question. It's not necessarily about the pastor kicking you out. No. What do you? Because then what you are then going to make a mistake of is then you're going to take that. Okay? I want to just finish off this thought before we go back there. You're going to take that, remove the expectation, and then want to go to church. And then when you go to another church, then you're going to say, oh no, this church I went to was like this, or this church. Then you are looking for a church that fits what you are. Can you imagine a thief going to church looking for a church that will allow him to thief? And so if the other things, there is an expectation, I would have this question. What's the expectation for you? We start the conversation there. Makes it clear. The pastor is just telling you what the expected from the scripture is. So then Bamulo says,
will not enter the kingdom.
usomizi angithi uthi mabe niyasixosha sixosheni emasontweni enu.
Okay. There was that point of Somizi. The problem with Somizi has made up his mind about what doctrine he wants to adopt. You remember when his daughter was arguing with him about choosing ancestral worship versus Christianity. And he was like, yeah, I've done that. So the problem with Somizi is doctrine. That's why I asked earlier on, what is expected of you? When you read Romans chapter number 1, what do you think is the expected end for you? Let's start there. So if Somizi can explain, we don't even have to chase you. The message itself tells you where we stand. I'm a Christian. I'm not in a club. You don't see me in a club. Okay? So my expectations are not vula. It's not a vula. It's a house. It's a family house. Every family house has rules, has standards. You can't go to a family house and then want to tell them how to. You understand what I mean? Yeah. And so the church is a family house. He says, in my father's house are many mansions. So we are all children to God. I don't get to the house and then tell my father what to put there. If my father says this is no, it's a no. I'm not even saying, hey, you know my father sometimes. No! Do I look? I ascribe to the views of my fatherhood. My fatherhood is right. Okay? Yes, it's just that simple. The problem is you who wants to change what I think my father is right in. My father is right about that. The question is, you, when you read it, how do you identify with it? If you think it's against, you expect me to jump over on your side so that you can smile. No. I'm going to tell you the exact truth. I think my father is right. Do you see what's going on? Because you are trying to pin me against my father. You're not even from our family. You're not even from our house. And you want to pin me against my father. There's something wrong with you. Do you understand the language? I think that's a very good point. My father decides what's in the house. So you're not going to get there and say, no, I'm like this. No, your father tells you, no, you're not going to do this here. So,
gay people le ba tsamaya ba lo iketsetsa le ya bona you know kereke tsa bona.
That's a good point. If you think there is a relationship that you can bend the rules, start your own house. It's the same thing. When you want to do your own things, at your father will tell you until you start renting your own place. So go start your own church. But when you start your own church, you must know on what basis you are starting it. You are starting your own church because you disagree with the father of the house.
Wait, see, it's so funny because bona bo pastor ba buang ka Sodom and Gomorrah, they are busy inboxing us on Facebook.
Now let's answer that part. And we answer that part in this tone. Because someone is wrong doesn't mean what he is doing puts off the standard of what the right was. Let me explain that. If you come amongst Muslims and you say no, and somebody tells you now Islam is like this, and then you go and you read in the Quran where it says something completely different. You read in the Hadith where it says something completely different. You read in the Sahih Bukhari where it says something different. And you read the commentators from Arabia and whatnot, and the teachers in Arabia, and the people that read that language as their home language, saying, this is how to interpret it. And then you are looking at this fella here, who interpreted it his own way. The question is, why is it that this person doesn't agree with this? You see, if you say, because they are inboxing you, because Baruti Baba Faniba, who are part of the flag, they are inboxing you, it doesn't change the standard that the church has. It doesn't. That pastor is under the carpet. We're not dealing with under carpet people. We're not dealing with under carpet. There are people who are pastors because they love the influence. And once they are in the influence, they want to use that influence in order to put themselves in. So why does the standard go lower? Because the person agrees with you. It questions. What's your intention? Is it truth or is it for me to just agree with you? As I stated before, I live in a house where my father tells me what the standard is. I don't come and dictate. You get it? Yes. Do not try to change the standard of truth, even if you are false. No, this is the standard of truth. Don't even try to corrupt it. The worst thing you could do is to try and corrupt it. As a matter of fact, starting your own version, or you're starting your own church where you can go wearing wigs as a person who was born male and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's your own standard. Right there. Let's just be straightforward. Azalani, I live in a house. The father instructs what is accepted in the house. And in that house, I don't make the rules. He makes the rules, I follow. Now someone will say, but don't you think, why are you trying to get me to disagree with my father? You are not from this house. Do you understand? You are not from this house. That's why you would want me to disagree with my father. Something is wrong with you. My father says it's not right. But when you are trying to win me over, you are trying to get me to agree with you, when you know very well the standard of the house does not allow. But you're like, but Ricky, but don't you think, I don't think contrary to my father. Why do you want me to think contrary to my father? It tells you are not of the house. The fact that you disagree with the father of the house, it tells you where you stand. If the father says this is wrong, it's wrong. I don't even argue that one. No, there's no, why do you disagree with the father of the house? Why do you disagree with the standard of the house? Why do you want to argue with the father? And then you want me to then question, how? I don't even dare. My mind doesn't even think of that. My mind doesn't go there because I spend all my time fixing my mindset according to him. And then all of a sudden, after I've fixed my mindset after him, I must change it when you want. No, just removing yourself. Why? Because let's be very clear, the standard of the house is my father's, not me. Not whether you like me or what. Liking me it's neither here nor there. The problem that you have is with the father of the house. I'll give you another example. The prodigal son story. The prodigal son errs in the beginning. The older brother stays. Doesn't follow him with his ideas. Right? When the prodigal son realizes his area of error, he's by himself. And he acknowledges his error in responding to the father. And he sees a need to reconcile himself to the father. He doesn't run behind the father and to the son. He goes straight to the father. He says, I will go to my father's house. Okay? He doesn't say, I'm going to go to my family house. No, I'm going to go to my father. My father is the one that is the ruler over there. But then the problem is, you are coming to the older brother. You are going to the back room and saying, no, but you think the father is wrong. Why do you want me to agree with you when you know the standard is the father? When you read Romans, it tells you the standard of the father. Don't ask me. Stop asking if you can come to me. No. Do you think the father allows? Does the father agree? Period. I have nothing against you. Nothing. Zero against you. My only issue is when you want me to agree with you opposite to my father. That's where we have a problem. That I spend my entire life fixing myself to his standard, and then I must bend over for you. I won't even tell you a lie. How dare you make yourself my God? Because you are making yourself my God when I must now forget the standard of the father and agree with you. The best thing for you to do is to just acknowledge me and you are from two different houses. It's that simple. It's from two different houses. My father has set the standard. Romans chapter number 1. Clear as day. Don't even go Old Testament. Romans chapter number 1. Clear. Leave those ones who are texting you. We don't know them. They are the prodigals. They are outside of the house. They are not part of the house. They don't know what the standard of the house is. When they realize what the standard of the house is when they are outside, they will come back to the standard. The standard doesn't change. God doesn't change for you, my friend. Unless you are my God. Now, do you understand now? That's a different thing. So let's be very clear here. The standard is the Father, not me. The standard is the Father, not you. So don't come back door and then want to ask me, don't you think the Father is wrong? You want me to fight with my father because of you? I don't know you. I don't know you from anywhere. You are not my God. I've never even met you. I must lower my standard to someone I've never met. How? What? Him I've met. His judgment I have seen. His standards I have seen. His talk I have seen. His revelation, his conviction I have seen. And then I must say, let's leave it there. Don't even go any further. Don't even explain yourself. Top corner of the bottom. Top corner of the bottom. The fact that you want me to disagree with the standard that the Father has set, that's where my problem is. It tells me that you are not of this house. So it doesn't mean I'm like I've said, I have nothing against you. My ways are not your ways. The same way his ways were not my ways, but his ways now are my way. Do you understand? The standard, even when it's against me, I recognize it. Now I must bend it. What?